was in varsity, a friend of mine, TC, gave me a quote that has always stayed with me. He said, "You know, Simon, an opportunity of a lifetime must be pursued in the lifetime of that opportunity." Meaning that even every opportunity that we're given has a lifespan on it. And if we don't pursue it and take advantage of it in its lifespan, that opportunity could be taken away, never to be recovered. And it stayed with me ever since. A couple of stories illustrate this for me. In 2009, when I was about to finish varsity, I met a fellow. Well, the situation goes that we were hanging outside of my cousin's house, my cousin Jabu's house, and he lived on a very busy street in Amalahleni, in the township of Amalahleni. And we were just having a couple of drinks, just the two of us. And, you know, as the township is, you'd be just chilling there, and one guy joins, three guys join, and all of a sudden it's a stokvel, a mini stokvel outside the house. And we're having a couple of conversations with a few people. But one guy starts a conversation with me on the side. He asks me, you know, what are you up to? What are you doing with your life? I tell him I'm a student at WITS. He says, "Wow, what are you studying?" I tell him I'm studying accounting. What do you want to do afterwards? I tell him. And he's having a sip from Ingud, which is a 750 milliliter quart, black label, I remember. And as he took a sip from his quart, he tells me, "Yazi lento engiyiphuzayo, yangiyenza ukuthi ngingabi doctor." So I didn't know what that meant. Afterwards, I asked my cousin what this guy really meant. And he tells me that this fellow had received, after high school, had received a scholarship to study medicine at Medunsa. Was one of the brightest students in his high school. And when he got to Medunsa in first year, he obviously, with this newfound freedom, concentrated more on the freedom than he did on the responsibilities. You know, the booze, the parties, the girls. And it so happened that he, with his low marks, got academic excluded. So he was asked to deregister from his course. And because he didn't have money, he couldn't register for the next year to go back to school. He lost that scholarship, and he never went back to medical school. When I was talking to him in 2009, he was in his mid to late 30s. In his profession, he was a taxi driver. When I walked back home that day, it illustrated to me, or this guy's story illustrated to me, how brutal life can be when you make the wrong choices after having been given an opportunity. That's one of the stories that illustrate to me the brutality of life when we don't make the right choices when opportunities are given to us. Life can be very, very brutal when we let go of opportunities. An opportunity of a lifetime must be pursued in the lifetime of that opportunity. And because he didn't focus on taking advantage of this opportunity that had been given to him, it was taken away. A couple of other stories illustrate this for me, even in business. I mean, the common examples, right? Uber and Airbnb. In 2010, when Airbnb was looking for its first few investors, one of the first guys they went to is a guy called Howard Hartenbaugh. And they offered him 6% of Airbnb at a cost of $4.5 million. He thought that these guys were overstating their value. He thought that their market was $2 to $3 billion at best. And even when he tried to convince his investors didn't buy into it. So he let that opportunity go. Fast forward to 2017, Airbnb is worth $31 billion. His stake, all things held equal, would have been worth about $1.8, $1.7 billion. That's not the only example. Uber, when they were going for their Series C funding, they valued their company at about $375 million. And they went to a couple of venture capitalists. One of the guys they went to is a guy called Mark Andreessen of Andreessen Horowitz. a venture capitalist. They tried to sell him a stake of 12%, 12% of $375 million. And he thought that Uber was overstating their value, right? He valued it at $220 million, and he was willing to buy 12% of that. But Travis Kalanick, being the courageous lion that he is, decided he was going to go with another investor. So Marc Andreessen let go of that opportunity. Fast forward to 2017, Uber is worth $69 billion. All things held equal, if Marc had taken the opportunity, his stake would be worth about $8.4 billion. It shows you, doesn't it? It shows you that if you're not willing to pay for the price now, you're going to pay the price in the future. Somehow, you have to pay the price because the opportunity of a lifetime. I think this principle applies in politics also. This is my opinion. I think when you're voted into power, people are giving you a privilege and a responsibility to lead. But it's a privilege. You are given the opportunity to honor the promises that you've given and the opportunity to serve your people and honor the office. It's not a birthright. Political office is not like royalty. You're not born with the right to lead. No, you're given that right. For that 4 to 5 years, you have to serve the people as best as you can. If you don't, in the next 5 years, the people are going to take that privilege that they've given to you and give it to somebody else. And what we've seen in Africa is leaders using force and power to remain in office. But it's because they've lost the trust of the people and they need force to remain in power. Because they've lost the trust that's been given to them. Because the opportunity of a lifetime must be pursued in the lifetime of that opportunity. So I think this principle applies in business, in your career, in relationships, and in ordinary day living. I think someone once said, I think it was Rev Run, who said, if you take things for granted, the things you're granted get taken.